We're in Book 2, Canto 6, The Kingdoms and Godheads of the Greater Life. And we've come to the section which starts on page 188. Aswapati is described as a hunter studying life like a hunter studies his prey. And we came to line 580 on page 189. I'll start reading from there. A sun that dazzled its own eye of sight, a luminous enigma's brilliant hood lit the dense purple barrier of thought's sky. A dim, large trance showed to the night her stars. As if sitting near an open window's gap, he read by lightning flash on crowding flash chapters of her metaphysical romance, of the soul's search for lost reality, and her fictions drawn from spirit's authentic fact, her caprices and conceits and meanings locked, her rash, unseizable freaks and mystery turns, the magnificent wrappings of her secrecy that fold her desirable body out of sight, the strange, significant forms woven on her robe, her meaningful outlines of the souls of things he saw, her false transparencies of thought hue, her rich brocades with imaged fancies sewn, and mutable masks and broideries of disguise. 1,000 baffling faces of the truth looked at him from her forms with unknown eyes, and wordless mouths unrecognizable spoke from the figures of her masquerade, or peered from the recondite magnificence and subtle splendor of her draperies. In sudden scintillations of the unknown, inexpressive sounds became veridical. Ideas that seemed unmeaning flashed out truth. Voices that came from unseen, waiting worlds uttered the syllables of the unmanifest to clothe the body of the mystic word. And wizard diagrams of the occult law sealed some precise, unreadable harmony, or used hue and figure to reconstitute the herald blazon of time's secret things. In her green wildernesses and lurking depths, in her thickets of joy where danger clasps delight. He glimpsed the hidden wings of her songster hopes, a glimmer of blue and gold and scarlet fire. In her covered lanes, bordering her chance-field paths, and by her singing rivulets and calm lakes, he found the glow of her golden fruits of bliss and the beauty of her flowers of dream and muse. As if a miracle of hearts changed by joy, he watched in the alchemist radiance of her suns the crimson outburst of one secular flower on the tree of sacrifice, of spiritual love. In the sleepy splendor of her noons, he saw a perpetual repetition through the hours, thoughts dance of dragonflies on mystery's stream that skim but never test its murmur's race, and heard the laughter of her rose desires running as if to escape from longed-for hands, jingling sweet anklet bells of fantasy. Amidst live symbols of her occult power he moved, and felt them as close, real forms. In that life, more concrete than the lives of men, throbbed heartbeats of the hidden reality. Embodied was there what we but think and feel, self-framed what here takes outward, borrowed shapes. It's full of beautiful, colorful, vivid imagery. We can see all kinds of wonderful pictures. But to understand what it all means is very difficult. It's quite mysterious. No? So the key to all this is that Aswapati is trying to penetrate the mysteries of life and understand. He wants to get the key to life, to understand what it is really. But it's very bewildering and mystifying to him, puzzling. Will you start, Dana, please? Line 580.
A sun that dazzled its whole height of sight, a luminous enigmas, brilliant cool, lit the dense purple barrier of God's sky. A dim, large canvas showed through the night like stars.
So let's look at this picture. A sun. There's a sun. It's so bright that it dazzles itself. Its own eye of sight. And at the same time, he says it's the hood, the head covering, a brilliant head covering of a luminous enigma, a mystery, a riddle. That's what's lighting up the dense purple barrier of thought's sky. So this is in the life world. So this is the life mind. There's a mixture of the blue of mind with the red of the life world. It makes this purple color. No? And it can be very intense. Here it's dense. The sky seems to be dense and it's difficult to penetrate. But this is the sky of thought. These are all experiences that Sri Aurobindo has had. And Mother tells us that to really understand what he's telling us, it would be necessary for us to have the same experiences. So this we can't do, but what we can do is to try and use our minds as intelligently as possible to grasp some of the meaning of these mysterious sentences. So first this image, the sun that is very bright, but it's at the same time hiding something, lighting up this purple barrier, this intensely purple sky. The purple is the color of the vital. And this dim, large trance showed to the night her stars, the many small lights of truth that are illumining, showing signs of many truths. Puna.
As if sitting near an open window's gap, he read by lightning flash on crowding flash chapters of her metaphysical romance, of the soul's search for lost reality, and her fictions drawn from spirit's authentic fact. Her caprices and concepts and meanings locked. Her rash, unseizable
freaks, yeah.
Freaks and mysterious turns.
Mystery turns, yes. So here it is as if he's sitting by an open window and reading by flashes of lightning. As if sitting near an open window's gap, he read by lightning flash on crowding flash. So there's many flashes of lightning, but they just come for a moment. You know how it is with lightning. It lights something up, but only, and then it's gone. But he's trying to read the story of life. He's trying to read chapters of life's metaphysical romance of the soul's search for lost reality. Nowadays, when we come across this word romance, we think of love stories. But the original meaning, especially in English literature, is of stories, complicated adventure stories. Where the hero, the knight, or whatever he is, the protagonist, he passes from one adventure to another. And that romance, if it is also metaphysical, it means it's been written in a language that is full of imagery that's difficult to understand. There's a school of poets of the 16th century, the metaphysical poets, It's wonderful to read their poetry, but often they use very startling, surprising, mysterious kind of images. So it's some story like that life is revealing to him with these lightning flashes. And this story, with all its adventures and turns and happenings, these are the telling about the soul's search for lost reality. And they also tell about stories that she has made up, fictions. But these fictions of life, which the stories that she tells, are actually drawn from, based on, the authentic fact of spirit. So it's very difficult when we're reading this metaphysical romance to know which ones are about reality and authentic fact and what are just fanciful stories. Her caprices, just she's made up for fun, and conceits also. This is complicated ideas and meanings that are locked up. It's not clear what is meant. Life presents us with all kinds of rash, daring, unseizable freaks, things that are abnormal, difficult to understand, and mystery turns. Something unexpected happens. We can't understand why. Life is like that, if we really start to look at it. Philomena.
The magnificent wrapping of her secrecy that pulled her miserable body out of sight. The strange, significant forms woven on her robe, her meaningful outlines of the souls of things he saw, her false transparencies of thoughts too, her rich brocades with imaged fancies
sewn,
and mutable marks and borderless for discuss.
Yes. So these are all the things that he's seeing about life. She wears wonderful clothes to cover up herself so that we get distracted by the robes. They fold her desirable body out of sight. We don't see the body, we only see these amazing, magnificent wrappings that she puts on. And the strange, significant forms that are woven, the patterns that are woven into her robe. Some of them are meaningful outlines of the souls of things. Some of these things that he's seeing really are meaningful and true and helpful. But he also sees her false transparencies of thought hue, as if overlying the reality there are transparent fabrics which have other things woven on them. So it's very confusing to know which is which. Sometimes she wears these rich brocades. Brocade is a heavy silken fabric which is woven with different designs on either side. On the inside it'll be like this, and on the outside it'll be like the other. Rich, expensive. It takes great skill to weave those brocades. And on top of the brocades are sewn, are embroidered, or appliqued, imaged fancies, images and pictures. And then she has masks, changing her masks all the time. She's putting on a different mask. And broideries of disguise, embroideries, things that are meant to mislead. Life as a great enchantress who is hiding her secrets from us. Would you like to read? Yes. So 1,000 baffling faces of the truth. If something is baffling, it's so difficult to understand. 1,000 different baffling faces of the truth look out at Asvapati from all these forms of life. And he doesn't recognize the eyes that are looking out at him. He doesn't recognize the mouths that are speaking to him, but they are speaking to him. They are speaking, they're saying something. All these figures of her masquerade, of her disguise, her extravagant disguise, seem to be speaking. Or maybe they're not speaking to him, they're just hiding somewhere and peering out, looking out from the recondite magnificence and subtle splendor of her draperies. Life is covered by these amazing fabrics, and it's as if there are little faces looking out from the folds at him. Recondite also means secret, hidden, difficult to see. Ganga Lakshmi.
In sudden circulation of the unknown, inexpressive sounds became veritable. Ideas that seems unmeaning flash of truth. Voices that came from unseen waiting words. Entered the
syllables, the syllables
of the unmanifest, the clothes, the body of the mystic world, and bizarre diagrams of the open world, seals and precise and readable harmony, or used of and figure to reconstitute the herald blossom of time's sacred city.
A scintillation. It's when there's a mirror flash, a sparkle. So some flash of light suddenly comes from the unknown. And then sounds which before had seemed inexpressive, without meaning, suddenly flashed out truth, became veridical, truth-speaking. Ideas that seemed at first unmeaning, meaningless, flashed out flashes of truth also. He hears voices coming from other worlds, unseen worlds that are waiting to reveal themselves or to manifest themselves. Those voices uttered the syllables of the unmanifest, parts of words that might express something that hasn't yet been manifested, that will manifest in the future. These syllables of the unmanifest to clothe the body of the mystic word, the word of creation. And he sees wizard diagrams. There are people who practice occultism, wizards and magicians and enchanters. They use diagrams, particular forms with letters written here and there that have some power if you know how to use them. These wizard diagrams of the occult law, some hidden law. They don't reveal, they seal some precise, unreadable harmony. It looks as if it has a very precise meaning, but it can't be read. Or those wizard diagrams used hue, color, and figures, shapes, to reconstitute, to put together again the herald blazon of time's secret things. There's a branch of knowledge called heraldry. It has to do, it goes right back into the far distant past. The old warriors, when they were moving around or going into battle, they had to be identifiable in some way. And so they would have their flags and their shield, and marked on the flag and on the shield would be figures and colors which identified them, which said who they are. We know that this happened even in the times of the Mahabharata. I think Arjuna had an ape on his flag. In medieval Europe, this became a very, very precise science, and there are still people who practice this. In London, there's a college of heralds who keep a record of the genealogies, the families, all the noble families. So when a new child is born into one of those aristocratic families, the heralds will be able to work out immediately what his blazon would be, his sign. Sri Aurobindo refers to this science of heraldry in several places. Here, the herald blazon. So those are like kind of posters, and the figures that are on there, they have a meaning. So he says there was something there, these wizard diagrams. Either they can be sealing some precise, unreadable harmony, or maybe they are putting together again signs that reveal the secret things of time. That to somebody who can read them, it tells something. So this is one kind of imagery that Sri Aurobindo is using. Now he goes to another kind. Kamala.
In her illness and in her tickets of joy and danger, perhaps delight, he clamps the iron wings of her sunster
Songster, yeah.
Songster hoops. A glimmer of blue and gold and scarlet.
Scarlet.
5.
Yes.
In her cover.
No, let's just have a look at that first sentence. In her green wildernesses, forest places, no? Wild places, and lurking depths. Sometimes in forests there are really deep places. We don't know what is there. In her thickets of joy, bushes, maybe flowering bushes, growing very close together, thickets. In those thickets, danger and delight are both there. We have to be careful. But in those thickets, these thickly wooded or bushes, he glimpsed, King Aswapati glimpsed the hidden wings of her songster hopes. Songster, a bird, because they sing. And these birds that he catches sight of, they are like hopes. You see them for a moment and then flash, they are gone. And they have such beautiful colors. Just for a moment you see the blue or the gold or the scarlet, the bright, bright red, like fire, of these hopes. Catches sight of them for a moment or two. So here he's turned from this imagery about the romance and the heraldry. He's using nature imagery, landscapes and forests and things like that. So next one, would you read, please? You can read, yes?
In her covered lands, whirling her charms were thoughts, and when her singing reveals and calm lands, he found the blue of her golden roots of bliss, and her beauty of her flowers of dream and music.
A lane, it's a little country road, a narrow country road, and usually there'll be plants growing on both sides, often with very fragrant creepers growing in them. So in lanes like that, covered, they're kind of secret. Those lanes run along the sides, so if they border her chance field paths. And then he passes also rivulets, little streams, who make such a beautiful sound. It's as if they're singing. And there are calm lakes. In all these different kinds of scenes, he found the glow of her golden fruits of bliss, delight, and the beauty of her flowers of dream and muse. It would be wonderful to try and paint all these scenes that he's suggesting here.
What is mean, Shraddhavan, rivulet?
A rivulet, it means a tiny little river, and a stream. And that thin little stream of water, it makes such a lovely sound. Yeah. You like to read, sir? Will you read?
As if a miracle hearts changed by joy, he walked with the alchemist radiance of her suns. A crimson outburst of one secular flower on the tree of sacrifice of spiritual love.
It's another amazing picture. As if a miracle of hearts changed by joy. course, these are not things that we can visualize, but it's something we can feel. When true joy comes, the heart changes, it's transformed, no? As if the miracle of hearts changed by joy, an experience like that. Aswapati watched in the alchemist radiance of her sons. These are the sons of light, life. And in their rays, there's magic. We have a flower that Mother has given the name alchemy. Alchemy is the possibility of turning ordinary substances into gold, making them something pure and refined and perfect. So some of life's sons seem to have this possibility of turning things to gold. And Aswapati watches how, through that alchemy, he sees a flower blooming, one secular flower. Secular has to do with ordinary life, not mystical life. The crimson outburst of one secular flower sprouting, blossoming on the tree of sacrifice, of spiritual love. So the tree of spiritual love can also nourish and allow to blossom something that is not spiritual, which is full of passion and deep color, vivid.
Shraddhavan, was the term about the number 8 means alchemy and occultism.
The number 8,
8.
I always think of the number 8 as meaning protection. Anyway, yes. 8 is for alchemy.
Alchemy. Occultism.
Yes. So that's what alchemy is. It's the science or the possibility of obtaining pure gold from ordinary substances. And then again another beautiful image from nature. Would you like to read?
In the sleepy splendor of a moon's sun, the perpetual reputation of the heights, thoughts, bands of dragonflies on mysterious tree, that skin that never tastes its murmurs rays, and heard the laughter of her rose desire, running as if to escape from long for hand, Jimmy's sweet anchored words of fantasy.
It's another lovely, complex image of a summer afternoon. The sleepy splendor of her noons. I think it's just afternoon, the warmest time of the day. And he sees in her sleepy afternoons dragonflies dancing above water, above a stream. I don't know whether this happens here, but it's something that in Europe we see. If there's a stream in a wood, there will be, in the summer, there will be these dragonflies. And they're called dragonflies because of their big wings and their beautiful colors. And it's as if they are dancing over the surface of the water. So he says, these dragonflies represent thoughts, actually. And what these thoughts are doing is they're hovering over a stream that represents mystery, marvel, something that's difficult to understand. So the dragonflies, the thoughts, they almost touch the surface of the stream. But they never really try what it is like to go into the water and swim. No, they don't do that. They just skim the surface. And then, as if in compliment to that sleepy, sunny, warm afternoon and the flight of the dragonflies, they have a special way of flying. There's another sound there. He hears the laughter of life's rose desires, as if there are girls there, beautiful girls, running as if to escape from longed-for hands. When young people play hide and seek together, of course you have to run away, but actually you want to be caught. No? So these lovely girls, these rose desires, are jingling sweet anklet bells of fantasy. I don't think anybody but Sri Aurobindo has ever written poetry like this. It's something so unusual and remarkable. Will you read? Thank you. So Asvapati is moving amidst, in the middle of forms that are living symbols of the occult power, the secret powers of life. Asvapati is moving all these forms which are being described here. These are living symbols of life's occult power. And as he moves among them, Asvapati feels them as close, real forms. They're not just symbols. They feel very real. The poet says that life was more concrete than the lives of men, our human life. More real, more dense. In that life, things are embodied. They have bodies and they live and move in bodies. Things that we only experience as thoughts or feelings. Things we but think and feel. And there, in that life that's more concrete than our life, things that here take outward, borrowed shapes, cushion, table, chair, flowers, glass. Things were self-framed. They express something real of their inner being. Embodied was there what we only think and feel. And things that here take outward, borrowed shapes. They're like disguises or borrowed clothes we put on, but they're self-framed. They express really what is within. So beautiful pictures but not so easy to understand. A sun that dazzled its own eye of sight, a luminous enigma's brilliant hood lit the dense purple barrier of thought's sky. A dim, large trance showed to the night her stars. As if sitting near an open window's gap, he read by lightning flash on crowding flash chapters of her metaphysical romance, of the soul's search for lost reality, and her fictions drawn from spirit's authentic fact, her caprices and conceits and meanings locked, her rash unseizable freaks and mysteried turns. The magnificent wrappings of her secrecy that fold her desirable body out of sight, the strange significant forms woven on her robe, her meaningful outlines of the souls of things he saw, her false transparencies of thought hue, her rich brocades with imaged fancies sewn, and mutable masks and broideries of disguise. 1,000 baffling faces of the truth looked at him from her forms with unknown eyes, and wordless mouths unrecognizable spoke from the figures of her masquerade, or peered from the recondite magnificence and subtle splendor of her draperies. In sudden scintillations of the unknown, inexpressive sounds became veridical. Ideas that seemed unmeaning flashed out truth. Voices that came from unseen waiting worlds uttered the syllables of the unmanifest to clothe the body of the mystic word. And wizard diagrams of the occult law sealed some precise, unreadable harmony, or used hue and figure to reconstitute the herald blazon of time's secret things. In her green wildernesses and lurking depths, in her thickets of joy where danger clasps delight, he glimpsed the hidden wings of her songster hopes, a glimmer of blue and gold and scarlet fire. In her covered lanes, bordering her chance-field paths, and by her singing rivulets and calm lakes, he found the glow of her golden fruits of bliss, and the beauty of her flowers of dream and muse. As if a miracle of hearts changed by joy, he watched in the alchemist radiance of her suns the crimson outburst of one secular flower on the tree of sacrifice of spiritual love. In the sleepy splendor of her noons he saw a perpetual repetition through the hours, thoughts dance of dragonflies on mystery's stream that skim but never test its murmur's race, and heard the laughter of her rose desires running as if to escape from longed-for hands, jingling sweet anklet bells of fantasy. Amidst live symbols of her occult power, he moved and felt them as close real forms. In that life more concrete than the lives of men throbbed heartbeats of the hidden reality. Embodied was there what we but think and feel, self-framed what here takes outward borrowed shape.